Please listen carefully.
Hello. Hello. Okay, today I'm trying a longer trip. I'm going down to Cobham in Surrey, and the reason I'm doing this trip is because I want to do a dry run on wet roads, by the look of things, for a business trip I've got to do in a couple of weeks' time. There is an option currently on the table for me to go down with a hire car through business, and I could organise that. That'll be delivered to my door and collected from my door, but I'd like to try and do it in the Leaf if possible. It's better environmentally, obviously, but yeah, it would be a good thing for me to try to do. I've had the car now since the end of October. It's now the last day of February, so had it a few months, and I wanted to do a video about some of the downsides of living with the Leaf. Now, I don't want that to come across as negative to start with, but I think it's important to portray a bit of honesty to people who are considering maybe getting one. Those of us who own the Leaf or other electric cars, maybe, we do tend to get a bit evangelistic about them, and we love them, and rightly so, but there are downsides, and that doesn't mean that they're not suitable cars. It just means they're things you need to know about when you're considering them. I should say right now at the outset, these are not sufficient that they would put me off having one. I don't by any means regret getting one, and if I had the choice again tomorrow, I would definitely get an electric car. So let's get that out of the way at the outset. Having said that, I just want to let people know some of the issues, and some of these issues are issues that will hopefully be resolved over time. Others are just the nature of the beast with the car as it is at the moment. So what I've got to do is, as I say, I'm heading down to Cobham. This is going to involve, in theory, it involves one stop. There's actually a rapid charger at Cobham services on the M25, which I will plan to stop at in order to charge to come back. But on the day itself, hopefully I'd have enough with the first stop to make it to Cobham without necessitating a second stop. But if I do have to make a second stop, it's going to be a very, very short one, because I'm at Cobham services. I need to get to Cobham. So right, let's have a look then. So I'm planning on stopping at a place called Wheatley Services, which is just outside Oxford on the M40. And so what I've got here is I've got Ecotricity's website open. Ecotricity run these rapid chargers, and well, this particular network of rapid chargers. There are other rapid chargers available, but I will be using the Ecotricity ones since I'm travelling on motorways. So this one, Wheatley Services, just outside Oxford. We can see, looking at this icon straight away, that this red signifies offline. Now so that could be bad news. This is your first issue. I'm going to click on that just for further information. Okay, so that tells me that CCS fast charge is offline, but the DC, which is the one we need, the DC charge is working just fine. So assuming this map is up to date, it says down here that it was last updated on the 27th of February, but I am aware, having spoken to the guys at Ecotricity, they do keep these maps up to date. Whenever they get status change, they do update them. So although it's not officially live, it's as near as damn it. So Wheatley looks okay at the moment, and then, as I say, the second stop that we'll need to do will be Cobham itself, which is fine. That's green, DC chargers online. So that looks all good. If I travel down by motorbike, that would probably be I'm not sure how long it would take, but it would be fairly quick. given that I'm travelling down by Leaf and having to stop, that's going to add a bit of time on. So I absolutely have no idea how long it's going to take. All I know is on the day I need to get there for 9 o'clock. So that will be a very early morning start potentially. There's only one way to find out, and that's to get in the car and head off. So without further ado, let's do that. Okay, the first thing to know is when I put the car in brake mode, that's regenerative braking mode. It doesn't seem to have much effect at all initially on a journey. I'm not sure why it takes a while for it to come on, as it were, to start working, but the initial part of the journey, you put the car in braking mode and it doesn't do a great deal of regenerative braking for whatever reason. I have to say, this is a nice start to the day. I got the car on 100% battery, and the range is estimated at 105 miles on the gasometer. We've actually got 71 miles to go, so we've got a comfortable 34 miles extra range on the gasometer, which is well in my comfort zone. I like to have 20 miles extra on the gasometer, so 34 is nice. So I don't have a great deal of range anxiety at this moment in time. Now on this journey I'll be travelling the normal mode I have for long distances. I put the car into eco mode and I drive cautiously on dual carriageways and motorways. I will be driving 55-60 miles per hour. If you drive at the normal speed you would in a conventional ICE car, your battery gets depleted quite rapidly. Well, considerably more rapidly than it does if you drive more cautiously. So that's the first, that's potentially a negative for a lot of people who think they can just drive the same way they've always driven in an internal combustion engine car in an electric. You can drive like that, but your battery won't last as long as you would hope. So you have to adjust your driving style. Now that is potentially a good thing. But it is a thing. Another issue I'm having at the moment is an issue with brakes. And it's been fairly widely reported, I've noticed, with a few Leaf users. That wasn't so bad. Often you find when you come to a crawling stop, your brakes are quite grabby. So there, that's an example. They're going to let me out. Thank you, kind person. Yeah, so it's normally in a conventional ICE car, when you come to a stop, obviously you brake, and then right at the very end of as you're braking, you either consciously or subconsciously you lift your foot from the brake slightly, and it prevents the car from jolting to a stop. Yeah, it's pleasant braking. It's nice for your passengers. It's the way you should brake. Trying to do that in this car is hit and miss. It won't. It grabs kind of early. So as you're braking, where you'd normally release the brake at the end, it's too late. It's already jolted to a stop. Sounds like an excuse. I know it's not my driving. I've driven lots of different cars. It's something about the brakes on this, and it's a problem which has been reported by several users. Supposedly there is a Nissan software update for the car to deal with this, but my Nissan dealer denies all knowledge of this update. They haven't been notified, according to them, by Nissan UK about the update. So as far as they're aware, it doesn't exist, and yeah, they won't do the update. So that's a bit of an annoyance at the moment. It makes you look like a numpty when you're driving, you know, and you've got passengers in the car. It's not very nice for them. It's not very nice for you as a driver. It makes you feel a bit like a learner again. So that would be a nice thing for them to sort out. Something I do want to talk about a little bit is the rapid charger network around the UK. Now, ordinarily, most of us do, is it under 30? It's over 90% of drivers do under 30 miles a day driving. I usually do less. I work from home, so I do less than that on a daily basis. But you know, when I do travel, most of my journeys are local journeys. So I will be travelling around the Warwickshire area, and the car's easily capable of doing that without me needing to stop anywhere to charge. So yeah, the great majority of my journeys, fine. However, life isn't like that. We do want to travel further afield in cars. We're not a two-car family. My wife doesn't drive. I'm the driver in the family. My eldest will soon be driving, but at the moment we're a single car family, and we probably will stay a single car family, I expect. I do ride a motorbike as well, so if there's no ice on the roads, I will use the motorbike as and when appropriate. But the novelty of the electric car is still very much with me, so I'm tending to do most of my journeys in an electric car at the moment. So these longer journeys, they do necessitate stops for rapid charging. It's unreal. I'm just going to discard the idea that you would stop at anything other than a rapid charger on a longer journey. Unless you've got hours to spare in your day, it's not viable for you to stop at a level 1 or level 2 charger. Level 1 being a domestic socket, level 2 being what we would call it's called a fast charger because it's slightly faster than domestic. It's Mennekes in the case of this car, and that's either a 3 or a 6 kilowatt charge. In my case, in this car, it's 3.3 kilowatts. This car doesn't have a 6.6 kilowatt charger, which, if you're considering a car, a Leaf, you may want to consider getting that as an option. It does add a cost to the car. I personally wouldn't bother because, as I say, longer journeys, I don't want to be stopping at anything other than a rapid charger. So let's throw that out there. Feel free to debate, discuss, argue that the toss. For me, I will not stop at anything less than a rapid charger unless it's an emergency. So, and I haven't had to, other than once out of pure curiosity. I haven't had to stop at the non-rapid chargers, the slower ones. I have done it a couple of times when I've gone somewhere, I've driven somewhere and there's a car park with a charger in, I've plugged it in to charge. I've done that 3 times, I think, since I've owned a car. So that's different because I'm stopping anyway, the car's parked and there's an electric space to charge. So yeah, fine, I'll plug in and get a few miles charge. But as I'm doing today, I'm doing a longer journey. I don't want to be stopping for 4 or 5 hours to charge, or even 2 or 3 hours. You know, forget it. I need to stop us for the briefest amount of time, maybe a quick toilet break, maybe get a drink of coffee or something. But I want to be up and on the journey again as quickly as possible normally. So rapid chargers, that's it. It's rapid chargers. Now the state of rapid chargers in the UK at the moment is a bit flaky. Let's be honest about this. Ecotricity have put in place a network of rapid chargers around the country, and they're all based on motorways, service stations, and motorways for the main part. I mean, there's a rapid charger on Forest Green Rovers, Dale Vince's football club. And there's one at an eco centre in Norfolk that belongs to Ecotricity as well. But for the main part, they're at motorway services. So that's fine, except that we don't always travel on the motorway network. It's not always convenient to travel on the motorway network. It was a good strategy. I'm not knocking the strategy, but I guess what I'm trying to say is we now need to have more chargers on, should we say, major A roads at least. I may be speaking selfishly, but I travel up to my in-laws' family are up in northeast Lincolnshire, so the longer journeys we do tend to be up to that neck of the woods. And normally that would be a journey we do on the A46 in a conventional car. It's a direct route, A46 all the way up. Nice major A road. It's been dual carriageway now completely, more or less completely. Certainly all the major busy parts have been. So that would be the normal option, A46. However, there is the only rapid charger in the area at all travelling from where we live, which is Warwickshire up to northeast Lincolnshire. The only viable option to stop, unless you go the motorway route, which is silly because it's had several miles on your journey. The only viable route is via a rapid charger on the A1 near Grantham, and that takes us quite a bit off the route, and it makes the journey time quite a bit longer than it need to be. Yeah, I don't want to moan too much. It's not a big deal. Ultimately, we're paying very little to travel, but I guess this frustration is born a little bit out of how I see things developing with Tesla. Now, if you're a Tesla owner, you're in a very good place, because they are, when Tesla build a rapid charging station, they don't just put in 1 or 2 chargers, they put in about 5 or 6, seemingly. That certainly seems to be the case, 5 or 6 or even more. That certainly seems to be the case from what I've seen of where they're setting these things up, and they are rolling them out across the country. And of course, if you're driving a Tesla, your range is such that, you know, it's less of a worry. I mean, you've got, what is it, 230 miles range on a full charge in a Tesla. So that's well and truly, you know, 150 miles range would probably satisfy most people's, you know, longer journeys. So 230 miles range, and yet they're putting out rapid chargers quite considerably, rolling them out all over the place. The States is covered now already. Norway's a big electric car company. This car, the Leaf, and the Tesla between them were at points last year the biggest selling car outright in Norway. That's to do with Norway's stringent tax rules on conventional fossil fuel cars. So there are good incentives in Norway to drive electric cars. So yeah, Ecotricity have put out this network, and it's good. I don't want to knock it, but there tend to be 1 or 2 chargers, and there are more and more of us now driving electric cars. So it's not that uncommon to arrive at a place and for somebody else to be there, or worse still, for the space to be iced. You know, that's a conventional fossil fuel car parked in an electric car charging space. That is probably the most annoying aspect of charging. It's when you arrive somewhere and somebody's done that. It hasn't happened to me a great deal at all, but it's happened it's happened once or twice to me, and in the end it hasn't mattered because somebody's come back, or in one case it was there was another charger next door that was available, so there were 2 chargers. That wasn't a big deal. But if you have to meet a deadline, if you have to get somewhere on a deadline, you have to be a bit wary with electric cars, because you could plan a 3-hour journey, for instance, plan your charge stops and think, right, okay, well, I need half an hour to charge. I'll stop at the charging point, the rapid charger, and charge up, only to find out that somebody's parked in the space. Could be illegitimate, could be another electric car driver, in which case that's just tough. You know, you're going to have to wait half an hour, but suddenly you've added an extra half hour onto a journey you'd already planned a half-hour stop in for your rapid charge. If we compare the state of play with Ecotricity rapid chargers with the Tesla superchargers, as they're called, we could see Tesla owners have got it better, really. I mean, the car's got a better range. You're paying a hell of a lot more for the car. Let's be honest about that as well. You know, by a factor of tens of thousands of pounds more expensive, but they do have the luxury of having that bigger range, and they do have the luxury of having a rapid charger network, which has each of which station has, you know, quite often more than one supercharger. It's several. So Tesla owners have got it good, really. Unfortunately, as a Leaf owner, I can't use Tesla's superchargers. They're proprietary, which is a bit silly. I mean, if you want the public to get into using electric cars, one of the first things that should have been done really was standards should have been ironed out across the manufacturers, the main manufacturers. They should have agreed on standards. There's one which has emerged, which is, fortunately, the Leaf uses. The CHAdeMO charger has been officially adopted now as a European standard charger, so that's good news. I guess the Leaf has kind of forced the issue a little bit on that score, because Leafs use them, so it's probably had a big impact. And the Tesla cars can use the CHAdeMO chargers, so they can use their own superchargers, which deliver a much faster charge, but they can, if they need to as well, use the conventional rapid chargers that Ecotricity, for instance, deploy. If you're doing journeys which don't involve the motorway network, so you're travelling on, you would be doing a journey on a major A road, for instance, you're a bit stuffed at the moment. You have to divert you always have to plan your route via rapid chargers, and that's something you have to do in advance of a journey. You have to consider, you know, your range. It's not something you'd normally do in an ICE car. That's a luxury you don't even appreciate when you're driving an ICE car. You don't generally have to think about the range, so long as your car's topped up with fuel. You know, you don't plan your journey especially necessarily. So that's a bit of a shift in approach to driving you have to adopt when you get an electric car. You have to plan your journeys in advance. Make sure you can stop at rapid chargers. Importantly, just before you do the journey, very importantly, check the rapid chargers are up and running, because if you get to a rapid charger and it's down for whatever reason, you're potentially stuffed. You know, it's potentially, depending on your range, you may be able to crawl to a nearby level 1, level 2 charger and top up assuming you can't reach another rapid charger, or unfortunately it's the flatbed lorry approach. So those are the perils. Those are some of the perils of driving electric cars. So you don't suffer range anxiety as in the conventional sense. It just means you have to plan things a bit more carefully. That's not necessarily a terrible negative, but it is a negative. It is a disadvantage compared to a fossil fuel car. There's no getting away from that. I have been informed by Ecotricity. I phoned them up and they are planning on rolling out rapid chargers to the major A roads hopefully in the near future. I wasn't given any time scale. That's a bit of a niggle, actually. You don't really know where you are in terms of the rapid charge network. You don't know what the status of it is. You don't know where the up and coming chargers are likely to be placed. You don't have any input in that. You don't have any awareness of what the time scale is of them being installed. So that's a little bit annoying. It would be nice to have, even if it's just a poll, where a poll of electric car drivers, where would you like to see them installed? I'm sure that would bring some meaningful information back to the likes of Ecotricity. But as I said, one thing is certain: most drivers of the Leaf want to see more rapid chargers. That's their overwhelming. That was the overwhelming response of a forum poll I saw. It was about 90% said of all the chargers they wanted to see installed, it was rapid chargers, and it makes sense. You live with one for a few months, and you just see it for yourself. Rapid chargers. We need more rapid chargers, lots of them. Ideally 5 or 6 in each location. Not 1 or 2. We need 5 or 6 longer term. And we need lots more of them. There probably will be a day, this might look ridiculous at some point in the future, I would hope, I'm actually sure there will be a day when they're very common. They'll be as common as your filling stations currently for diesel and petrol. And when we reach that point, then we've made it. I think it's quite likely that some of the oil companies, in response to the update, will start to put in chargers. I believe some have already. I think down in Hampshire there's a couple of places with rapid chargers, a couple of conventional garages, filling stations. So that's a good development. I mean, they've already got everything in place. They've got shops and you can get a coffee there. So why wouldn't they? They can resist it as much as they like, but people will. The uptake of electric cars is going one way, and it's likely to go in that the direction of travel is likely to go that same way. There's likely to be more and more people driving them. So you can attempt to fight that, but it's doomed to failure. It would be a wise thing for the fuel companies to come on board and start to put in rapid chargers at their filling stations. Then at least they can get some money in snacks or coffees or whatever. They may as well. Reliability of rapid chargers has been a bit of a thing in recent weeks, sort of over the Christmas period as well. There's a journey I did coming back from northeast Lincolnshire, and I decided, rather than going the route I'd normally have to go, which involves a stop in Grantham, I decided instead to go the motorway route back, which is kind of it's a long way around. It's not a good route really. It used to be a good route before the A46 was dual carriagewayed. Even then it was as quick, certainly, to go the A46 way up to northeast Lincolnshire as it is to go the motorway route. Now, on this journey I noticed that there's a few stops down the M1 you can pull into rapid charge, and 2 of the services en route, the charger wasn't working.
And I think the big bugbear I've got with the status of chargers is when they're faulty, they seem to be faulty for not a few hours. You know, you'd think, well, a rapid charger's faulty, you'd think that needs to be attended to fairly quickly because people need it. You know, you're a bit stuffed without your rapid chargers. But when they go down, they can be down for not even just days, sometimes weeks. So what's going on there? How can they have it down for weeks? How can they think that's not acceptable? You know, you put a rapid charging infrastructure in place, at least maintain it. And it's tough to moan about Ecotricity because they're doing it for nothing. You don't pay a single penny to use their chargers. So at the moment, that in a way is a disadvantage because you haven't really got the right to moan about it. You can't stamp your feet and go, I'm disgusted by your service, you know, this is terrible, why are these chargers down for weeks? You can't do that because, you know, they're doing it off their own backs. Yeah, with a longer term view that they will hopefully cash in on it, I'm sure. I'm not naive enough to think, you know, Ecotricity, as moral as they may be, donations to the Labour Party of £250,000 aside, which is a bit of a sore point. Let me just deal with that. Actually, I don't like businesses who donate to political parties. I can understand and sympathise with their reasons for doing so, but I don't like it. I don't think that money should distort the political process in any way, shape or form. And saying, well, the Tories have got all these lobbies and therefore we need to counteract that. No, I'm sorry. First of all, it's not going to work. You're not going to swing voters' minds by bribing the Labour Party, by bunging them a wodge of money. You're just going to annoy people who aren't Labour supporters. And I note, by the way, lots of people who use Ecotricity are Green Party supporters, and the Green Party would no, they wouldn't. The Green Party would love to have a donation of £250,000, I'm sure. I'm not a Green Party member. I've got no, you know, bugbears about that. I'm just stating a fact. The Green Party is a minor party. They would love to have £250,000. And Ecotricity have traditionally supported the Green Party. Again, I'm not happy about that. I didn't pick Ecotricity because of their political credentials. I picked them because I liked their ethics. I like the fact that all their energy is from renewables. So they are my energy provider. So I have a bit of a double interest in this. I moved to them because I thought I'm going to give back because they've created this network of chargers for electric cars, and I was really pleased with them about that. I thought, yeah, good on you, you know. And then they give £250,000 to a political party, and suddenly it kind of jades my impressions. And I suddenly think, well, frankly, it makes them a bit schmutzy. It makes them they start to look a bit dirty, and, you know, giving money in politics is just not nice. That £250,000 could have been spent on other infrastructure. I'm sure Dale Vince and co would come back and say, well, you won't have any infrastructure if we get another Tory government. I don't believe that. You know, the Tories may have made it very, very hard for Ecotricity. I don't deny that for one instant. But I mean, what's going to happen if a Conservative government gets re-elected? And that's not impossible by any means. Then they've just made, with the best will in the world, if you think money's going to influence, it could work the other way. You've donated £250,000 to the Labour Party, and then the Labour Party's conventional enemy gets into power. How do you think they're going to feel? Do you think they're going to feel endeared towards you? Can't see it. So, if you just kept the money out of it, Dale and co, that would have been a good thing. And I think most Ecotricity people, certainly from what I've seen, the response, which has been very vocal on social media, it's been a pretty angry one, especially from a lot of Green supporters. So yeah, let's put that aside now and move on. Back to what I was talking about. So yeah, this rapid charger reliability issue. Once once they start actually charging for the use of rapid chargers, then obviously there'll be a bit more of a customer elbow, as it were, a bit of leverage to say, you know, we're paying this much to use these chargers, why aren't they working? So I have range anxiety at the moment. I have range anxiety right now. I have 32 miles to go, and 42 on the gasometer. That's close. That's not in my tolerance, so to speak. So I was obviously heavy-footed whilst talking earlier. Driving more like a normal car. I wasn't driving. I was possibly doing around 60, 63. I do have winter tyres on the car, which will have a bearing, clearly. Nevertheless, I started out with 105 miles on the gasometer. I have 42 left according to this. Now, what I'm trying to do when I drive, if you drive economically, if you can keep there's one dot which is kind of zero, no energy use, one white dot. I'm trying to keep 2 or 3. So including that first dot, I try to keep 2 or 3 dots to conserve energy. So we've got 2 at the moment, including the first one. Well, that's kind of low use, and we're doing 56 miles per hour. It's kind of lorry speed, lorry motorway speed. One of the other things about rapid chargers is you can find, I've only encountered this a couple of times as well, but you can find that they're being used by hybrid vehicles. Of course, hybrid vehicles are entitled to use them, but some of them can be very slow to charge, and they don't need to use them. Whereas if you're a BEV, a battery electric vehicle, you do need to use them. So it'd be nice if they found a way of dealing with that longer term going forward, you know. Whether there's a premium to use the rapid chargers or not, I'm not sure. You know, if you've got a hybrid vehicle, I guess you shouldn't really need to use the rapid chargers when you're on a journey at all. You can charge at home, and that's going to satisfy most of your local journeys. I don't know what the range on them is, 20 miles, whatever. Then you could do a lot of your local journeys on dedicated electric. You're travelling further afield, I'm not sure you can justify stopping at rapid chargers, really. By all means, tell me I'm wrong. I'm quite open to alternative arguments. I don't have a hybrid vehicle, so I don't fully appreciate the ins and outs. But to me, if you're driving a hybrid and you stopped at a rapid charger, you're doing it because it's free electricity. Okay, fine, it's free electricity. Don't blame you, really. Why not? But at least, okay, let's put it this way. At least if you'd be nice enough to make way for a dedicated electric vehicle if one turns up, that would be good. As I say, not happened to me, so it's not an issue.
Electric highway support.
Oh, hello there. I was just wondering, can you tell me if can you tell me if the DC rapid charger at Sherwell is operational or not on the M40?
I'll have a look for you right now.
Thank you.
If I could just take your name and telephone number just in case we're cut off.
Yeah, it's
It last delivered a charge just under an hour ago.
Oh, so the DCs are fine there, is it?
It appears to be, yes, and it delivered. It's delivered about 6 charges since last night. So yes, it looks fine.
Lovely. That's great. I can stop there then. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
I think I'd probably be okay to make it, but this is the anxiety. Okay, it's creeping in now because I've got 23 miles to my planned stop at the services near Oxford, but the guessometer is saying 34 miles. So that's close. That's going to wind up being quite close. I could probably do it just fine, but I'm going to need to crawl along the motorway. It's not entirely a safe feeling to be doing, you know, such a low speed on a motorway. But this is the reality of driving an electric car on longer distances when using a motorway. I need to be driving so that I keep the battery usage down to very low levels. I could do a short stop here at Cherwell. Doesn't have to be long, 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, and then off we go. So this is going to be an unplanned stop. You know, I started off thinking I had, as I said, 30 miles in play, and the reality turned out, you know, it's under 10 miles difference now. It's 18 miles to go and 26 miles on the guessometer, so that's dropped fairly significantly. It's because I'm driving on motorways. That does eat a lot of juice, or drink a lot of juice, I suppose I should say. So we're going to have to do a stop here at Cherwell. This is what I would call a put your mind at rest stop. Well, that's what I'm calling it now. I'm going to pull in here, do a small rapid charge. Don't have to be here long, and then off we'll go again. It's a familiar place. So I know from memory, I think there's only one charger here. This is where we find out whether it's available or not. I phoned Ecotricity and they tell me that it was functional an hour ago, so as far as I'm aware, it's working correctly. It's whether or not the space has been iced or whether there is a genuine person charging there at the moment. It looks like there's somebody in there. No, I'm looking at the wrong space. Okay, it's looking good for use. There's one spot and this lady's going to walk right out in front of where I need to be. Right, so in we go. Get a quick charge here. Alright, so I've just stopped. I was charged for 7 minutes at Cherwell and I'm now on 52% and 45 miles on the guessometer. So I'm not worried now. That was a quick, 7 minutes, not even 10 minutes I stopped for there. So, but I did have to stop for peace of mind. That's the point I'm trying to make. Unfortunately, the charger was operational. Had it not been, I'd have been quite anxious to the rest of the journey. Exit. It's around here. Okay. So I've only got 18 miles to go now until the charge I intended to stop at. The charger I intended to stop at Wheatley Services near Oxford. So I can afford to. Yeah, I can afford to drive normally now, as I would in a conventional car. Don't need to worry too much. What's to think about it? I'm going to run through some feature requests. I used car wings in the previous video. I talked about car wings, which is the ability to access information on the car remotely from a PC or from an app on a mobile device. There are some features it'd be nice to see in the actual app. One of which would be, well, you can set a timer to start the heat to come on. You can turn the climate control on and off remotely from the app. You can also start the car charging from the app, which is really good. What you can't do is stop it charging from the app, which is not good, because ordinarily I have a timer set on the car, so it charges up to 80% normally on a day-to-day basis, which is what I do that for battery maintenance reasons. You know, it's better for the battery not to charge it to 100%, so I charge it to 80% day in, day out. But if I want to do a longer journey like today, you know, I may want to charge to 100%, or I may not. What I'd like to be able to do is just to be able to stop it charging. You know, I might not want to push it to 100%, or I might have turned the timer off and I want to just control it fully from the app. So I want to start and stop charging directly from the app. Given that it can start charging, it seems a bit odd that it won't let you stop charging, given that it lets you start climate control and stop climate control. So that would be a nice little feature to add in there into car wings. And another little thing which might seem a bit gimmicky would be to lock and unlock the car remotely from the app. You may consider that there's security implications there, but I can't see it really. You know, it's not like other cars don't do that. You could do that with other cars. So that will be a nice thing to have in the app. Remote lock and unlock. Say, for instance, you know, we're at home and one of the kids said they left something in the car. I could just unlock it and lock it again afterwards. Nice easy thing to do. Flash headlights would be a nice little thing if you're parked somewhere in a car park at night. It'd be nice to just get it to flash the headlights directly from the app. You know, there's lots of things you could do in the app that it's not doing, and there's no reason why it shouldn't do it. I'm assuming it's got. I am making the assumption that it's got, you know, control capabilities along those lines, hardware-wise, and it's just a case of putting something in place in the software. But I don't know that for certain. Wouldn't it be great if you could fire up car wings and say, stop the car? It doesn't. I'm not suggesting that it slams the brakes on. I'm suggesting that maybe it starts a warning light and then, you know, the car slowly loses power. That would be fine. You know, make that publicly known. There's a big disincentive not to steal the car. Right, done at Wheatley Services near Oxford. It's coming up 2:15 in the afternoon. Obviously the afternoon. Just done a charge up. I've actually charged to a bit longer than I wanted to, 85%. Got 66 miles on the guessometer. And I got 50 miles to go in theory. We shall see. Actually, what's the destination at the moment? Route. Yeah, Cobham services. Okay, so that's. It wouldn't surprise me if I have to stop. 66 kilometers, 66 miles on the gasometer, with 50 miles to go. That's a bit close for comfort. Let's just sneak out here. This woman passed. 800 people want to get out suddenly. Yeah, it's all right. We're good. Okay. Clean that screen a bit. I do have a backup plan. There's another rapid charger at Beaconsfield on the M40, so if I'm getting towards the destination and I think I'm not going to make it, I'm going to pull over at Beaconsfield and rapid charge there. The charger is flagged as working at the moment on the Ecotricity website, so yeah, but hopefully we won't need that. It's all a bit of an experiment, this. See how viable a proper longer journey is, how much longer it will take compared to fossil fuel and people cutting me up. Yeah. There's that grabby brake I was talking about. Right, well, I've got 27 miles left to Cobham and 47 on the gasometer, but I'm just pulling in at Beaconsfield services for a quick charge. Just a bit wary. Just a little bit wary about the distance. It's 20 miles in hand, but given how I started out the day, I don't want to be running out of electricity. So this is the third stop on the trip. The first one was a 7-minute stop. Second one was the last one at Wheatley Services, and that was a well, it wasn't a full charge. It was an 83%. Well, you'll know. So again, I think this one will be a quick stop. The other thing I'm keeping an eye on is battery temperature, because when you rapid charge, it does increase the temperature on the battery. So I'm not sure how that fares. I've never done lots and lots of rapid charges one after the other, but given that I'm only doing short ones, I'm hoping it's going to be okay. I'm not sure where the rapid charger is here. They're generally out the front of places, but I can't see it right now. I may have to drive round again. Where is it? Ah, there it is. I can see it now. Next to these ambulances. Ooh. Okay, 2 chargers here. So that's good if there's a problem with one. At Wheatley Services, one of the chargers was faulty. It was the actual the trigger handle was faulty on one of them, so I had to use the other one. And that's one of the things you do encounter. So, right, let's get charging. Okay, I've just stopped there for how many minutes? 12 minutes. Taking the charge up to 74%, 66 miles on the gasometer, and 26 miles to go until Cobham services. I'll tell you what, let's start properly.
Right, so we're good to go.
Right, so we're approaching Cobham services now, half a mile away. The time is coming up to 3:30, so that gives us an idea of journey time.
Charging points there, right, so let's nip down here then. And there's a couple of them. That's all good.
Okay, so that's journey's end from the planned journey today. Let's have a look. How did we do? Bum, not saw what the battery was at when we left. Got that recorded, so it doesn't matter. Right, end time is 15:33. No, and battery 38%. And gasometer 34 miles. So looks like on the faces of that the last stop was unnecessary, but it's better to make use of it. And yeah, because it's better charging, the battery's better at charging between certain levels, so yeah, that's a perfectly sensible thing to do. The temperature is still 9 degrees. And the roads are, well, they're a bit wet now, but they've been dry most of the way down, so that was it. Nothing more to say at the moment. I'm going to charge. Right, so at Wheatley Services, or Oxford Services, and yeah, that was quite a nice run actually, coming back from Cobham. I just charged at Cobham. I charged to, what was it? Let me have a quick look. Keeping a log of these journeys. Yeah, okay, I charged at Cobham. We left Cobham with 85% and arrived here at Wheatley or Oxford with 19%. And I actually drove motorway speed, 60 to 70 miles per hour, coming back from Cobham. Didn't stop at Beaconsfield like I did on the way down, and got here no problem at all. Like I say, 19% I had left on the battery, so I didn't need to stop at Beaconsfield on the way down. But yeah, cautious is better. Yeah, but that was nice, driving at 60-70 miles per hour coming back from Cobham. So I actually made quite good time. Left at 4 o'clock and got here at 10 to 5. Currently charging, we're at just coming up there, just gone 50%. And I've just grabbed a nice salad. And there's some meat-free mini savoury eggs. I'll have a couple of those. Might even have 3 or 4. Ooh. So yeah, it's been quite a good trip all in all. It's conclusions. Well, I'll probably wait till I get back. I'm probably gonna have to stop at, well, I will stop at Warwick Services still on the way back and charge up there. Stopped at Warwick several times, so I know I'm fine from there. What can we glean from today? Well, let's have a look at the overall times involved. So I left home at 11:38 this morning, and I got into Cobham at 2:48. So let me just check that again. 11:38 left. Yeah, so 20 to 12, and got to Cobham at. No, I didn't get there at 2:48. I'm wrong. So what can we glean from today? Well, I've missed out on what the Cobham stop time was, so I'm gonna have to find that out when I get home. But I think it was about 4 hours from home to Cobham. So compare that with a conventional ICE car. Obviously I could have done that journey with fewer stops, it transpires. But even so, it wouldn't have made a massive difference. Okay, it might have knocked 20 minutes off. Let's be generous, half an hour. Still 3.5 hours, 3 hours 40, thereabouts, for a journey which is, I think it's about 3 hours, probably in a normal car. Probably less than that. Depends how you drive on motorways. If you keep to speeds, keep to the speed limits, it would be about. It might be just under 3 hours. I don't know. I'll check that. So my conclusion is, when it comes to doing the business trip in a few days' time, I think I'll probably go on the motorbike, but it depends on the weather forecast probably. If it's going to be snowing or anything ridiculous, I'll be going in the car, and I'll be leaving ridiculously early in the morning to get there for 9 o'clock. Probably a 5 o'clock start, which I don't really want to do. So yes, it looks like my conclusion for that business journey certainly will be motorbike if possible. But if I had the time, if I wasn't worried, if I didn't have a deadline to meet for that journey down, I would be quite happy to go down in the Leaf. So yeah, disadvantage. So that's basically the final disadvantage I can think of at the moment. Just the extra time involved. But you know, you balance that against, well, how much have I spent on fuel today? Nothing. Not a penny. The car was charged at home, so okay, the electricity cost of that, £2 potentially, but probably not even that much, because it was charged yesterday during the daytime using solar panels. So you know, and yeah, and the rest of these rapid charger stops, obviously zero cost to me, and all the energy comes from renewable sources. So we've been driving the car on sunshine and wind, and there's usually plenty of wind around when I'm driving. And on that bombshell, tea time. Bye. Okay, well, I just got back home. It's that time, 21 minutes past 7, and yeah, it's quite odd really. I set out starting the day to highlight negatives really with the Leaf, and I've got back and I'm just in a great mood. It's been really good actually. Coming back, it's been mixed weather. It's been rainy, and we've had sort of wet roads, but let's turn that around. Here we go. Yeah, it's been mixed weather. So we've had rain. Otherwise, roads have been dryish. Not too bad. I stopped twice coming back. So the 4 stops on the way down were overkill really. I drove coming back at motorway speeds, okay, legal motorway speeds, you know, between 60 and 70. What I was trying to do was, let me just turn this around again. This power gauge here, this little dot here, so when the car's effectively not using any energy, you get 1 dot. I think I said on the way down, you know, generally it's good if you can, including that 1 dot, if you can keep to 3 or 4 dots, then you're driving fairly economically. So that's what I aim to do generally. Now, normally on dual carriageways and motorways, you have to take it fairly easily and go steady, and you can end up driving anywhere between 55 and 60 generally. That's what I normally have been doing. Bear in mind, I've had the car over winter, and the temperature today has been a little bit higher. We're up to 7 degrees now. We were sort of 9 and 10 earlier today, so that may have had a bearing on it. But I've been driving back sort of normal motorway speeds, and despite the rain, 2 stops all the way back from Surrey is pretty good at going, with the result that I've got back at this time. I have noticed that if we look over here, this is the battery temperature. Now, that's the highest I've ever seen it. That's because I've been pretty much constantly supercharging all day. So that's got up to 8 bars, which is quite high. But from what I gather on from other users, from other drivers, a few people have said, that the higher the battery temperature, the more economically the car seems to drive. So whether that's had a bearing or not, I'm not entirely sure. But it's been great driving back. It's been unusually like a normal fossil fuel car. So yeah, quite an odd feeling, really. So I've logged journeys I've done today, and yeah, so we started off with, where's that started? I went to 9344. If I just focus that, 9344 we started off, and finished off 9594. So put a few miles in. But yeah, that's the remarkable thing from what I can see is, Cobham we left at 10 to 5. I left there and got back at 20 past 7. So that's pretty good going. I may be revising my trip options for the business meeting. Yeah. Other than that, what's happened? I met a couple of nice electric car drivers as normal. I met a fellow Leaf owner at Oxford, the Oxford services, who's had the car not very long himself, but he was out with his family, gone down to London for the day, parked in London, charged in London, and was driving back to Bromsgrove. Hello, if you see this by any chance. And said he's loved it. Same old. People you meet just love the car. So I can't believe I set out trying to point out negatives in this video, and it turns out quite the opposite again. Strange. I pulled into Warwick, met the same guy. He stopped at Warwick, and then he headed off just as I was pulling into charge. And while I was charging, a nice Swish white car pulled in on the left hand side of me. I was filling out the mileage stuff at the time, so I kind of ignored it, and I actually thought it was somebody icing the space. So I thought, grief. Transpired on close. Got out of the car. The guy came round and tapped on the window. I had a quick chat with him. He said he was looking for an AC charge, and he wondered whether he could use the charger at the same time as me. And you can't. You can only use one side at once, the DC or the AC side. He said the one was faulty on the left hand side of Warwick, so there's a negative again. The AC charger at Warwick was faulty, and there isn't an AC charger on the second charger. There isn't an AC cable on the second charger, so he didn't have an option to charge as it goes. And then I looked at the car, and we were just chatting for a while, and then I looked at the car properly, and I went, oh, it's a Tesla. It's a Tesla Model S. So I went, that's a Model S. I said, oh yeah, a bit slow, I'm afraid, but that's the second one I've seen on the road, as it were. And yeah, lovely bloke again, local. I think local to Warwick. From what he said he was all right to get home, but I think he said he could turn his heating off and he'd managed to get home. I should hope so with the range that car's got. But yeah, yeah, unfortunately, he would have been a bit stuffed there had he not had enough charge to make it home. But he did. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say, really. Been a fun day after all that, and got back with a big smile on my face. So all those downsides stand, but yeah, well, you see the effect driving an electric car has. After all, in the round, you know, it's been great. And that is it now. So I'll sign off.